Do you want to know what to know about people who interrupt? I'm Nicholeen Peck, and I teach about parenting and good communication all over the world through the lens of the principle self-government. And in this video, we're talking about interrupting. Speaking from experience on this one because I used to be a terrible interrupter. In this video, we're going to talk about why people interrupt. What do we need to understand about these people? And then, is there anything that we can do to help them not be quite so annoying to everybody else? So, a little bit about me. I am a quick thinker. I have a lot of things going on in my head. I ask a lot of questions about things. And so I have a tendency to interrupt. I want to share. I want to add to. I want to help someone. This is why I end up interrupting people so often. Although I have developed a habit to have more patience in my communications. Now, occasionally I fall back into the old habit because it is just a habit to get into that regular train of thought that seems so easy. And I like to have dynamic conversation where things go back and forth. I absolutely love going to things like book discussion groups, especially the type of book discussion groups where everybody just discusses, where they just share things and they don't raise hands necessarily, and they don't always wait their turn. They just say. Now, sometimes that can be a little chaotic, and I know there's some people who absolutely hate those types of environments. They feel like everyone's talking over each other and we can't understand anything. But I don't usually get bothered by those environments. I feel like those environments are exciting. There's intellectual sparks flying everywhere, and it's really fun for me. So in order to be socially acceptable, I have to rein that in, right? I have to decide not to interrupt. Now, as a public speaker, it's great because I can interrupt myself and then I can go back to whatever I was thinking and I'm fine with it. If I can keep the train of thought there, then it all is well if I interrupt myself. But when I'm working with somebody else, it's kind of hard, because they may feel like I'm not listening, I'm not paying attention because I'm cutting in with a question or making a statement. Interrupting is actually a really bad social skill. So let's understand it a little bit more so that we can help people overcome the problem. I remember I had a friend growing up who said to me, "Nicholeen, you're always interrupting." And she really wanted me to get the point of, this is rude. It's a bad behavior. I remember I had another friend who said, "Oh, people that interrupt are so rude." And she said that to another friend. I knew they were talking about me. I knew I had a problem with interrupting, but I didn't know how to fix the situation. It's hard. Sometimes you don't know what you don't know. In fact, that's what this whole channel is about. If you've subscribed to this channel, hopefully you've learned something about yourself and about other people that you didn't already know. That's my whole point to this channel, is trying to teach people what they don't know that they don't know about how people interact and about self-government. So I didn't know what I didn't know about communication with people. I didn't know how to stop myself from doing something that felt so natural to me. I knew that it bothered people. I knew that I didn't want to do it, but I didn't know how to make the change. So why is it that people actually interrupt? Well, many people are like me. They're questioners. And as soon as you say something, they ask a question. They analyze, they assess something very quickly, and then they want more information. So I'm the type of person that likes to get more information. If I'm going to help someone, well, which is usually why you're having a conversation, so that you can be useful or helpful or understanding to another person. If I'm going to be understanding and useful to another person, I need to have all of the facts. And so as soon as someone starts telling me something or explaining something to me, I might have a question pop into my head. I don't want to forget it. So guess what that's called? It's actually called excitement or anxiety. Everyone experiences anxiety in one way or another. A person who has a tendency to interrupt is usually feeling anxious about something. Maybe they have a question, maybe they want to be helpful, maybe They are wanting to be controlling. Sometimes a person interrupts or talks over another person because they want to shut the other person down. They want to be controlling at the time because they don't feel secure in a situation. They don't feel safe, maybe. So they go for controlling instead. There are multiple reasons why people choose to interrupt each other. No matter what the reason is, a person needs to face the problem in order to truly overcome it. I had to face my interrupting. And I had to analyze, when do I keep doing this? When I'm in a class of people, oh, I love it. I love to add something that I knew also about that circumstance, or share an experience that I've had, or maybe to ask a question that nobody else is posing. I love to do that because I love to add more depth to the conversation, especially if I am really invested in that conversation. I will get tempted to interrupt. So I knew that was definitely one place where interruption could happen for me. I also would feel insecure sometimes socially, and so I would interrupt to get included in a conversation. That can happen too. Once I analyzed when I interrupt, then I could determine why it was that I felt like I needed to interrupt in those circumstances. So then I went to that next level of questioning. Why then? Well, is it because I feel insecure? Is it because I feel left out? Is it because I want to contribute and help in some way? Is it because I'm excited about the content that's being discussed at the time? What is it that is making it so that I feel like I can't wait my turn to talk? Sometimes I have interrupted or said something because I have felt like the person speaking is trying to get participation, but people aren't necessarily giving any participation. So at a moment when I felt like I could give some, but they weren't necessarily asking for it at that moment, I would add some and maybe interrupt at the moment. So sometimes, in fact, most times, for me at least, whenever I interrupt someone, it's because I'm trying to understand more and because I'm trying to help. But it doesn't mean that it's always taken well because, again, it is kind of a rude and socially controlling behavior. If you or someone that you know is struggling with interrupting, what can we do to help them? The first situation where I decided to tackle my interrupting was when I was in a classroom setting. I decided that I needed to give other people a chance first to share the idea that I might have come to my head. And if no one was sharing it and I still asked myself, is this vital to the conversations, then I could share it. But if somebody else was maybe thinking of sharing it or other people were commenting, I would tell myself to wait because I knew that I might want to interrupt multiple times. I might want to have comments multiple times. So I needed to give somebody else a chance to share some of those so that I wasn't commenting all the time. I didn't want to be an attention hog. Another thing that I told myself was if I feel a spiritual feeling like this is something you need to say right now, and you get that feeling like, say this, Nicholeen, then it's okay to say something. But at that point, I would try to do the respectful thing and raise my hand. If I could just get myself to hold back and raise my hand, those two things could conquer the interrupting problem for the most part in a classroom setting. And if I knew I could do it in a classroom setting, then I could probably do it in a more casual social setting with friends. Because if I recognized that sometimes somebody else was going to say what I already was going to say, and I could trust that that would happen in a classroom setting, why couldn't I trust that it might also happen in a social setting? Another thing that I ultimately had to tell myself was that it's okay if not everything gets said. It's okay. If I had a thought, if I have something I really want to share, and the conversation moves on past it, it's okay. I don't have to share that thing. Those are truths that you can tell yourself and you can tell other people. But just going to a person and saying, you interrupt, this is what you need to know, is probably not going to be the best approach. I would have a heart-to-heart with a person. If it's one of your children, have a parent counseling session. In this book, Parenting a House United, I talk about 5 different teaching styles that parents can use with their children. One of those teaching styles is called a parent counseling session. Parent counseling sessions are conversations that you have with your child about one issue or topic only. That one topic is something that you go deep on, and you help them recognize that you understand and you want to help them make a plan to address the issue. For many years, I did not share my actual steps to how to do a parent counseling session. So there are steps to so many skills in this book. But with a parent counseling session, I felt like, well, people can intuitively figure out how to have those conversations with their children. I'll give them some guidelines and then they can just go with it. But in 2023, I recognized that me not giving the steps that I go through in my head for that skill actually might be hurting people, and I could do something that could be more helpful. I ended up writing down all of the steps for the parent counseling session. So in here is how to have a parent counseling session, talk to your child, and teach them all the skills they need. But I did another training called the Fall Fresh Start in 2023, which you can get an access to this training on my website, teachingselfgovernment.com. And on that training, I talk about the 14 steps that a person goes through to have a really great conversation with their child. How to have a parent counseling session where the child takes full responsibility for what they are going to do to handle their issue. In this video, I can't share with you all 14 steps. That would take us just a little bit too much time, and there's a certain length I like to keep these things because I know people can't listen forever. I'm just going to share with you a few tips to a parent counseling session that I think will make a difference whether you have all 14 steps or not. So if you are going to have a conversation with your child about interrupting, I highly recommend deciding at the beginning to pick a situation that is non-confrontational when you're going to have this conversation. So don't have this conversation when a person just interrupted. That's not the time. You want to pick a time that's calm and say, hey, can I talk to you about something? I've recognized that you have a lot to share with the group. So do you see what I'm doing there? I'm starting with validating that you know a person does like to share and that they do contribute in valuable ways. So I would say, I can tell that you have a lot that you can contribute to this group. You really share so much with us. But one thing that I've noticed is that sometimes when you share when somebody else is in the middle of talking, that people shut down and they stop wanting to listen to you. I want people to want to listen to what you have to say more. I want you to be able to have the impact that you hope for when you're sharing all of your great ideas. I'm wondering if you would be open to having a conversation about interrupting, because learning how to not interrupt is just one of those social skills that a lot of people need to learn. Okay, now your child is hopefully going to be open to solving the problem so that they now can have more understanding and have more impact on the people around them. After that initial introduction to the conversation, you might want to ask them what they've recognized with their interrupting situation. Maybe have them do some analysis and explain to you what they've noticed or why they think it might be happening. In fact, just asking, why do you think this happens, is a really great opening for them to do their own analysis. If they start analyzing themselves, they are going to have a greater chance at solving the problem of interrupting. Now, you'll want to go through that entire 14-step process. That's just a few of the steps that will help you get going on having the discussion about interrupting. You'll want to create a plan for the person and maybe even have some time where they can check up with you in a weekly mentor meeting. Our family does 3 different types of meetings. They happen each week. One of them is individual mentor meetings. This is a great time to check up on some of these individual issues that we're working through with each child. And those usually happen at the same day, the same time every week. So they're things that we just have as part of our regular schedule. Open communication is the best way to help a person handle a difficult social behavior or habit. So having good open communication with your child about interruption really can help you. If you are having a struggle with your connection with your children, there are trainings on teachingselfgovernment.com all about bonding, increasing and improving your bonding. There are so many extra helps that you can find to improve your relationship. Don't stop learning. Go to teachingselfgovernment.com and get the help that you need.